No, no toilet.
Okay, we're ready to vote.
Sure. Good evening. It is 5:30 and we're going to call the meeting to order. I'd remind you to turn your cell phones to silent or vibrate, please. And then let's all stand and do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Chris, would you take the roll, please?
Councilmember Stevens?
Here.
Councilmember Strebe?
Here.
Councilmember Berg?
Here.
Councilmember Dalby?
Here.
Councilmember Rowe?
Here.
Mayor Lazio?
Here.
Items on the consent agenda. Minutes from regular meeting number 34 on November 6, 2018 as presented. Acknowledgement of October financial report and payment of bills as submitted by the Finance Department. Reappointment of Mike Sammons to the Ottumwa Housing Authority, term to expire 11/22/2020. Approve the Police Department appointment of Cody Craycraft as police officer effective on or about November 21st, 2018, and authorize payment for training costs in the amount of $8,155 for the Peace Officer Certification Training for Cody Craycraft. Approve the Police Department appointment of James Avon as police officer effective on or about November 21st, 2018, and authorize payment for training costs in the amount of $8,155 for Peace Officer Certification Training for James Avon. Approve the Police Department appointment of Carson Story as police officer effective on or about November 21st, 2018, and authorize payment for training costs in the amount of $8,155 for Peace Officer Certification Training for Carson Story. Approve the purchase of 4 in-car camera systems from L3 Mobile Vision Incorporated for the Police Department for $17,100.80. Resolution number 255, 2018, setting the date for a public hearing on the council's review of the establishment of a downtown Ottumwa self-supported municipal improvement district. Resolution number 270, 2018, setting the date for a public hearing on the intent to dispose of city-owned property located at 701 West 4th Street. Beer and/or liquor applications for Mimi's Taqueria, 707 Church Street with outdoor service area, all applications pending final inspections.
Is there a motion for the consent agenda?
So moved. Second.
Thank you. Take the roll.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Strebe?
Yes.
Councilmember Berg?
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
We also need a motion for tonight's approval of the agenda as presented.
So move.
Second.
Thank you.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Strebe?
Yes.
Councilmember Berg?
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Item D, I'd like to call on City Administrator Andy Morris to give us some updates on things he's got scheduled.
Thank you, Mayor. There are 2 items that are listed. The very first one is the Finance Committee meeting that is scheduled for next Monday. That'll be November the 26th. Those meetings typically start at 6 p.m. There are 2 representatives from the City Council, Councilman Dalby, Councilman Rowe. They're on that committee. There are other members as well. Bob J. and I help put the agenda together. Try and schedule 3 meetings a year. This will be the 3rd meeting of the year. In fact, I just put together an agenda and forwarded this to Bob J. a little while ago. We'll look at that and develop it, and again have that final meeting of the year, and then probably a wrap up to their activities. The next item you see is specific to the comprehensive plan, the City Council meeting with Confluence on November the 30th. As I've mentioned at previous meetings, their initial meeting was with staff, and that was on the 30th of October. And at that meeting, it formed somewhat of a plan anyway. Let's just call this a strategic plan in terms of items that they're recommending to council to consider, and then council can confirm, deny, or modify. But just to reiterate, that meeting with elements of both city staff, primarily department heads, and city council will be on the 30th as indicated here. And if there's anything new that comes to that, I'll let you know. Mr. Mayor, that's all I have at this time.
Okay. I think at this time I take a point of privilege. Holly, would you like to give us an update on the comp plan meeting that's coming up?
Oh, I had just seen today that the announcements out for the public participation meeting for the comprehensive plan, which is December 13th from 5:30 to 7:30 p.m. at Bridgeview Center. So anybody from the public is invited to attend and give their input, thoughts, ideas. There'll be a few activities going on, I believe, during that for the community members to give input on the plan.
Great, thanks for that update. Item E, if there's anyone in the audience that wants to address an item on the agenda, I didn't receive any notices, so we'll assume nobody is going to address that. Let's go to item F then, please.
Approve the conceptual proposal by the city for an amendment to the police collective bargaining agreement and a 3-year extension to the agreement. Recommendation: move to approve the agreement and provide authorization for the mayor to sign the final draft collective bargaining agreement to be effective January 1, 2019 through June 30th, 2023.
Is there a motion?
So moved. Second.
Good evening, Chief. You have the floor.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Due to a high turnover rate for current police officers with the Ottumwa Police Department and the difficulty recruiting officers, city staff has been meeting with the Ottumwa Police Union, Teamsters Local 238, to discuss ways to address these issues. In reviewing the comparables with the city's sister cities, it was determined that the starting wages as well as the top wages for officers with longevity are comparatively low. Based upon that, the city negotiated a $3 per hour increase for all police officers effective January 1st, 2019. Officers will also receive a 30-cent per hour shift differential who work the majority of their shift between 6 o'clock p.m. and a.m. This will be effective only when the 12-hour shifts are implemented. This is anticipated to occur around July 1st of 2019, dependent upon staffing levels at that time. Comp time will be adjusted effective January 1st, 2019 to offset the wage that was earned at a lower amount. The wages for dispatchers would not be increased until July 1st, 2019, when they would receive a 2% increase. All other police officers within the department would not receive the original 2% increase negotiated to occur July 1st, 2019. The contract would be extended for 3 years. Effective July 1st of 2020, all police department employees would receive a 2% increase. Effective July 1st of 2021, all police department employees would receive a 2% increase. Effective July 1st of 2022, all police department employees would receive a 2% increase. A letter of understanding has been reached discussing potential issues and questions that could result during the implementation of the 12-hour shifts. Attached is a copy of the city's contract proposal and letter of understanding, which I believe you all have a copy of. The police union has voted to accept the city's proposal. During the next 30 days, city staff will be revising the contract, and upon completion, request authority for the mayor to sign the final draft. Tonight, I have John Thomas with the Teamsters Local 238. He's worked with this extensively on this project. Also, I didn't have this in my staff summary, but we also worked with Indian Hills Community College. If you recall, we had meetings with their staff when we put this package together, asking for their input from criminal justice staff out at the college. So I'd like to thank Tim King and Peter Sullivan for putting in their time to help us out with this. So I'd like for Union Rep John Thomas to come up, and he said he'd like to say a few words.
John, come on
If you
up,
have any
please.
questions, we'd be welcome to answer those now.
We'll save questions for the chief. Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, thank you very much. This is a huge deal. I fully understand, having bargained contract with the City of Ottumwa for a few years, the position you're in. I can tell you that I think what you're going to find is that you are going to be the leaders on this, and you're going to find cities around you that are going to start following suit. Upon passage of this new collective bargaining agreement, you will be the best compensated city within 70 miles. The only city being better than that is Pella, which is kind of its own beast. I can tell you that I think because this has been in the works for some time now, the current recruiting process, I think you're seeing the fruits of your labor. You're in the middle of trying to hire 5 officers, 2 of which are academy certified already. That's going to save you months of time and money. I can tell you that myself and other officers have been in discussions with other certified officers who were going to apply And other cities and counties are saying, wait, we'll figure something out. And I think what you're doing here is significant. And I don't think you're going to see other cities and counties in the area that are going to make the investment into public safety that you are. And I think you're going to see the fruits of your labor. I think eventually you're going to have some retirements, forthcoming. I think you're going to see your recruitment continue to be positive, where you're going to now entice people, because it's not $2,500 more, it's $7,500 more to make that change. And I think the city has done a great job of communicating with us. I appreciate the chief and all of his staff, and Joni and Bob J. I know has crunched a ton of numbers. This has been a very transparent process. There's been a lot of discussion about it. This has been a lot of effort on everybody's part. And I thank the city very much, as from myself's perspective and that of the officers, that we recognize how big a deal this is and appreciate your continued support.
Great. Okay.
Thank you.
Any questions for the chief?
I have one. I don't know whether it's proper to ask this or not, but are any of the ones listed on the council agenda, are they local people or
The new hires,
Yes.
we've got one that you've already approved on, and I think it's our last city council meeting, Buddy Harsh from Bloomfield.
Yeah.
He's been with Bloomfield Police Department for 10 years. And then we've got a potential officer. I would say we're probably 75% sure that he's going to come over. He's from Albia, and he's been certified or working for the Albia Police Department for 2.5 years.
Okay.
The other three are, they'll be going to the academy. And they're fairly local. There is one that is from up north, James Avon. He will be driving back and forth for a while. I'm not sure what his plans are, but he's from out of town.
Okay. Thank you.
Go ahead, Mark.
I don't have a question. I just have a quick comment. This has been a going on two-year project at this point in one way, shape, or form, and we're finally what I think and hope is nearing the end of this, and we're to John's point, we are, I think, starting to see some of the fruits of some of the things that we've put into place, and hopefully this is the capstone to that. And I really a lot of people have put in a lot of hours of work into this, and I really just want to say thank you to city staff for all of the listening and hard work that they've put into this. The police officers union for their time that they've put into it, the flexibility, and definitely the dedication that they've shown through these rough times over the past few years, and obviously Indian Hills Community College for their help, and the city council members with me that have invested a lot of time in this as well. This has not been an easy deal, and we've got our work cut out for us going into the future. But I strongly believe in my soul that this is the final step that needed to be taken to make sure that that we have a safe community, and we're giving the officers everything that they need to do their jobs correctly. So again, thank everybody involved.
Okay. Ready to vote? Take the roll, please.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Strebe?
Yes.
Councilmember Berg?
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chief.
Thank you, Chief. Thank you, John. Item G.
This is the time, place, and date set for a public hearing on the sale of city-owned property located at 219 West Woodland.
Good evening, Kevin. You have the floor.
Thank you, Your Honor. Bids for the placarded house at 219 West Woodland were accepted until 2 p.m. October 23rd, 2018, and 4 bids were received. The best bid was from Mick and Denisa O'Leary in the amount of $10,250.
Any questions? Well, is there a motion? Excuse me. This is a public hearing. Is there anyone in the audience that wants to address this item? Okay, seeing none, I would entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second. Thank you.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Strebe?
Yes.
Councilmember Berg?
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Resolution number 264, 2018, accepting the offer and approving the sale of city-owned property located at 219 West Woodland to Mick and Denisa O'Leary for the sum of $10,250. Recommendation pass and adopt resolution number 264, 2018.
Is there a motion?
Move the recommendation as presented.
Second.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Strebe?
Yes.
Councilmember Berg?
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin.
This is the time, place, and date set for a public hearing on the 2019-2020 capital improvement projects.
Okay, Andy, are you going to lead us off on this?
Yes, I'll go ahead and start off. Thank you, Mayor. Bob Jay and I are going to split these up. Just want to give you some background on the projects that are in front of you. The very first one I want to make mention is the housing demolition program. That program has been very successful, and I credit a lot of that, of course, to the planning, health, and inspections for making that work. I'm not going to bore you with a bunch of details because I'll give the council a packet of this later, but I think it's worth noting. The program began in the summer of 2017 with the city and secured a legacy grant to, over a 4-year period, $400,000 to remove placarded homes. City committed $600,000 to this project, which constituted essentially $1 million over a 5-year period. To date, we've removed 35 homes, and with this leveraged grant monies, we've been able to achieve removing those homes. In addition to that, the city's 657A program obtained title and sold another 20 placarded homes. 2 years into the program, we've removed 55 homes from our list of placarded properties. I think it's worth noting that when you look at the grant application, aspirationally, what we planned on doing was trying to do anywhere between 21 to 22 homes a year. And I think it's of note, and again, a lot of credit to Health and Inspections, in particular, Jody Gates, that we've able to achieve 55 of those that have been removed, and this program will move forward. And as I said, from this point forward, we still have 4 years from the city's perspective left in this program. So just wanted to provide a little bit of background on that. Having said that, I don't know if there's any questions or comments on that. I think if it's appropriate, then I'll go through and read through a couple of other items. My understanding is that we've done this in whole and not breaking these down into smaller parts. The other one, or the item of note that council has agreed to us to form, are the beach renovations. We're in the middle of phase 3 of the beach renovations that began in 2016. This will end in 2020. Our plan consisted of $700,000 of improvements staged over a 4-year period. And if should you wish to see that list, that would be something certainly staff would be more than willing to distribute. In addition to that, we're in the fourth we will be entering into the 4th and final stage of replacing the wave pool generation equipment, resurfacing and repainting the slides and providing sufficient funds. Also installing some shade structures around the pool. I think it goes without saying, and council understands this, but a lot of the credit, not exclusive credit, goes to Dwight Dolman, the city engineer, and also his ability to work with Gene Ratchey, our parks director, on this project. And I think this is something council started before I came on board, but it's certainly proven to be worth its while, and I think will turn into an item where we'll be able to generate a little bit more traffic at the beach. With that, I'll turn it over to Bob Jay for a little bit, and then I have a couple of cleanup items. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Morris. I'm going to back up a little bit and kind of give everybody a heads up as to how these things were determined. Previously, normally we have a bond issue for CIPs, usually in the $3 to $4 million range. Back in 2015, we ended up doing a $5.4 million. So 6.2 is going to be the largest since I've been here, since 2009. There was about $30 million worth of projects presented. Of that, 10 million was going to be from outside funding, so the 20 million was going to be would have been from the city of Ottumwa. And like I said, in the lead letter on your workbooks, 4 projects that we were obligated on were the dilapidated housing, the beach renovation, airport runway reconstruction, and the downtown streetscape, amounted to about almost $5.3 million in financing. And then we would include the Jefferson Street sewer project, which is a high priority, brought it right up to the $6 million range. After that information was sent out to y'all for your review, There was an email received that had from the Scott Halgren from Bridgeview, who stated that the external engineers that had reviewed the walls over there required it to be done. So I talked with Andy, and we decided that $130,000 now is better than $400,000 later. So we included that into the box. So we ended up having about a $6.2 million or so bond issue. I'm going to talk to you about, like I just said, the Bridgeview exterior repairs. The walls over there are requiring some waterproofing repair to the precast panels, and that's going to be approximately $130,000. The downtown streetscape is a $6.2 million project. Of this, we are obligated up to $3.1 million. We may not have to have that, but that's what we're going to bond for, because once you get into those streets down there, who knows what you're going to find. And the third item that I'm going to talk about is the airport runway improvements. That's the one that we've entered in contract with the FAA, and this is represents our 15% of the required match. Mr. Morris.
Thank you, Bob. The last item then is was mentioned, a project that is of note, and Larry Seals has actually given a slideshow program on this one, and it's the Jefferson Street sewer project. As you well know, that is an item that is not only going to allow us to reduce the I&I, which we have with our combined sewer system here in the city of Ottumwa, but in addition to that, obviously it lends itself very, very well to street repair. I won't go through and bore you with the intricacies of it, other than the fact that this will obviously be something that needs to be let. So all items being equal, the projected date in terms of letting bids and receiving those, memorializing those, will be December of 2018, next month, and then finished as to construction in the fall of 2019. Mayor and Council, that's all I have. I don't know whether Mr. Seals has anything to add to that, but just wanted to make sure and outline the projects.
Any questions for any of the staff? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. This is a public hearing. If anyone wants to address this item, now's the time to speak up. Okay, I entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Strebe?
Yes.
Councilmember Berg?
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Resolution number 271, 2018, approve the 2019-2020 capital improvement projects as listed. Recommendation, pass and adopt resolution number 271, 2018.
Move the recommendation as presented.
Second.
Thank you. Any questions for Bob or Andy?
Well, I wanted to kind of touch base. We're having, based off the amount of that it bumped up to a little bit, we're going to stretch out the, previously it stated that the debt service side would be 7 years. That's going to have to go out for 8 years now. We'll look at a small increase in the debt service levy and preliminarily based off of just, I'm using 3% right now. Don't know what the rate's going to be this spring. They could be looking at 3 to 4% coming up. But so initially maybe an 8-cent increase, and then should be able to drop it off a little bit. So it'll just depend on what the interest rate will be when we sell our bonds.
Okay, good clarification, Bob.
And of that, the 11 million or 1,170,000 will be paid out of the airport urban renewal area. That's a project's already been included in the airport amended TIF, and so the balance will be paid out of debt service.
Okay, good. Any other questions or comments? Okay, take the roll.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Strebe?
Yes.
Councilmember Berg?
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. No, there's a lot of hard work to reach this final conclusion. Okay, item 3.
This is the time, place, and date set for a public hearing on the plans, specifications, form of contract, and estimated cost for the beach renovations Phase 3 RFP 4X beach sound system.
Good evening, Gene.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. This project consists of the complete removal of existing sound equipment, including wiring. Contractors shall provide all equipment, labor, and materials necessary for complete installation of a new indoor-outdoor sound system to provide quality audio to the lobby, offices, outdoor and indoor pool areas in accordance with proposed plans and specifications. RFP 4X was originally distributed in December of 2017, and proposals were received from 4 vendors. The 4 proposals were subsequently rejected by the City Council on February 20th, 2018. Assistance from audio consultants were pursued and revised plans and specifications were developed. Bids will be received and opened by the City of Ottumwa on December 12th, 2018. The bid report and bid award recommendation will be presented at the City Council meeting on December 18th, 2018, or at a later date as determined by the staff. Implementation of this project is expected to commence immediately and shall be completed by May 17th, 2018. The engineer's cost estimate of this project is $50,000. And the total phase 3 costs of the beach renovation project to date are $469,140.62.
Okay, this is also a public hearing. If there's anyone in the audience who wants to address this item, seeing none, I'd entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
When is it appropriate for questions, Mayor?
As soon as we get a motion on the floor. So is there a motion, or read the resolution? Yeah.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Strebe?
Yes.
Councilmember Berg?
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Resolution number 273, 2018, approved the plan, specifications, form of contract, and estimated cost for the beach renovations Phase 3 RFP 4X beach sound system. Recommendation pass and adopt resolution number 273, 2018.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Now, Skip, if you have a question, now's the time to bring it up.
Gene, do you know off the top of your head what it costs to have these plans and specs drawn up?
That's a question for Dwight.
Okay, thank you. One other comment. Opinion of cost $50,000. I guess I'm from the old school. I think once we put that amount down, that tells any potential bidders that there's $50,000 there to work with. A year or so ago, we had a bid of $25,000. And I look, because of there's $50,000 there, I think it was probably for the same work 3 years ago. And I think probably by putting that amount of money in there, and I notice we do that on all projects anymore, I just think maybe it's better not to put that amount in there, not to disclose our hand, and just an opinion.
Okay.
I think what you have here is probably a real good proposal that's going to replace everything, and it's going to be an excellent sound system. However, the $25,000 bid, as I understand it, was basically the same thing. So just personal opinion, I look for the cost to jump way up because they know now we got $50,000 to work with, but that's just my opinion.
Okay. Any other comments or questions? Okay. All right, ready to vote? Take the roll.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Strebe?
Yes.
Councilmember Berg?
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
This is the time, place, and date set for a public hearing on the plan, specifications, form of contract, and estimated cost for the Milner Pump Station Removal Project.
Good evening, Larry. You have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. This project consists of the installation of approximately 41 linear feet of 12-inch gravity sewer main, the decommissioning of the Miller Street Pump Station, and convert the wet well into a manhole, place full depth concrete patch and site restoration. Bids will be received and opened by the City of Ottumwa December 12th, 2018, and a bid report and bid award recommendation will be presented at the council meeting of December 18th, 2018. Construction on this project expected to commence on April 1st, 2019, and shall be completed within 15 working days. The engineer's opinion of cost is $37,000, and it would be funded out of the sewer fund balance.
Okay, this is also a public hearing. If there's anyone that wants to address this item. Seeing none, I'd entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Strebe?
Yes.
Councilmember Berg?
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Resolution number 275, 2018, approve the plan, specifications, form of contract, and estimated cost for the Milner Pump Station Removal Project. Recommendation, pass and adopt resolution number 275, 2018.
Is there a motion?
Move the recommendation as presented.
Second.
Any questions for Larry? Good summary in your packet. Hearing none, take the roll.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Strebe?
Yes.
Councilmember Berg?
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Resolution number 242, 2018, amend and revise policy number 20, 2018, sewer charges and fees, adjusting how the credits are calculated and establishing revised policy number 20-2018, retroactive to April 17th, 2018. Recommendation, pass and adopt resolution number 242, 2018.
Is there a motion?
Move the recommendation as presented, Your Honor. Second.
Thank you. Joni?
Thank you, Your Honor. This resolution just simply amends a resolution that you made at a prior council meeting regarding the sewer charges and fees, and making this policy number 20-2018 retroactive to April 17, 2018. That's all this does.
Any questions for Joni?
Mayor, just a question. I know this is an item we talked about with finances. As I recall, there are something around 5 to 7 customers. Is that a fair statement in terms of the ones who would be subject to rebates?
That was my understanding. Bob could address that as well.
Okay, that's all right. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Okay, take the roll.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Strebe?
Yes.
Councilmember Berg?
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Resolution number 272, 2018, approving and authorizing an amendment to loan and disbursement agreement by and between the City of Ottumwa and the Iowa Finance Authority, and authorizing and providing for the reissuance of the $2.674 million Sewer Revenue Capital Loan Note Series 2018. Recommendation, pass and adopt resolution number 272, 2018.
Is there a motion?
Move the recommendation as presented.
Second.
Bob, go ahead.
Thank you, Your Honor. The sewer facilities SRF loan became eligible for reduction in interest rate effective December 1, 2018. The original loan had a 3% interest rate, and the new rate will be 1.75%, which will save the sewer fund $387,013 in interest.
Wish we had more of those kinds of situations. That's great. Any questions for Bob? Okay. Is there a motion? Ready to vote? Okay, take the roll.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Strebe?
Yes.
Councilmember Berg?
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bob.
Resolution number 274, 2018, approving change order number 3 and accepting the work as final and complete for the beach renovations Phase 2 project 2017 Contract A. Recommendation, pass and adopt resolution number 274, 2018.
Is there a motion?
Move the recommendation as presented, Your Honor.
Second.
Thanks, Mark. Go ahead, Gene.
Okay, thank you, Your Honor. The beach Phase 2 renovations consist of separate contracts to address required repairs to the beach at Ottumwa, located at 101 Church Street. Contract A consisted of concrete repairs addressing the wave pool and surrounding deck areas, including concrete demolition, horizontal concrete placement, and shotcrete gunite vertical concrete placement. The city council approved 2 previous change orders totaling a deduct of $478.99 involving costs associated with finalizing quantities for horizontal and vertical concrete repairs, select sidewalk and storm sewer repairs, and additional concrete deck repairs. Change order number 3 is for additional concrete floor repairs to the wave pool in the amount of $7,500. Turner Concrete Construction of Ottumwa, Iowa has completed the above referenced work according to plans and specifications. The final contract amount with the approved change order is $367,336.01. Approval of this resolution will recognize project acceptance, change order number 3, and authorize final payment, releasing all retainage in the amount of $25,491.80. So the revised contract amount with this change order is $367,336.01. And the Phase 2 project total to date is $700,287.71. And at this point, I'm going to turn things over to City Engineer Dwight Dolman, who will present a slideshow on this project.
Good evening, Dwight. You have the floor. Thank you, Mayor. As has been our practice, whenever we have a project of any significance, we'd like to give you an overview of the work that has been done. And so that's why we're taking a look at this. Contract A is the last contract that is open under Phase 2. So after approval of tonight's agenda item, we'll be able to effectively close the books on Phase 2. But this project here, the wave pool repairs, this is a picture from the slide tower, and it shows you when we were at the peak of activity, and you can see all these vehicles that are parked in the wave pool. And we had probably about 20, 25 people working on the wave pool at any one point in time. So the summary of the project is the project included vertical and horizontal structural concrete repairs, concrete deck replacement, and also improvements to the water circulation system. The patio deck repairs, you can see from the control joints here how badly deteriorated these were. In fact, it was almost difficult to be able to walk on those things with bare feet. And keep in mind too, that all these repairs, a lot of these repairs were done last fall or last spring prior to the start of the swim season. So this is kind of going back in history a ways. So we took the opportunity to include a storm sewer system that connected to the downspouts here on the entire east side of the building that allowed the downspouts to drain into the storm sewer system, which effectively drained into the lagoon. And then here you have the finished product showing the downspout tie-in and the finished concrete. We also did some of the deck repairs around the perimeter of the wave pool. This is on the north side of the wave pool. We had observed some settlement of a concrete slab. Several years back, it got replaced. It settled as well. When we came to remove that section of the slab, we found this void underneath here. It's kind of difficult to understand the scale of that, but that void is big enough that you could put 2 55-gallon barrels in there and still have room around the perimeter. We were fortunate that we were able to get this fixed without a tragic accident occurring. And one of the problems that the beach did have is that every year it lost a significant amount of water. And this is one of the areas where we found that we were able to repair that fixed a lot of that. What had happened is that this piping here is part of the drain system that connects to the skimmers. So whenever water went into the skimmer on this side of the pool, it would go through this area. This is the part that connects back into the circulation system. The part that connects to the skimmer has been removed so it's easier to see, but you can kind of see that break there. And what had happened, whenever water would come in through the skimmer, it would go down into the ground. Some of it would go back into the circulation system, but most of it just went into the ground. And that's one of the reasons why we were having so much water replacement that we had to do over at the beach. And here they're replacing the concrete there. We do anticipate there being a similar problem on the south side of the wave pool. And this next phase, we will be taking care of that problem. That'll occur this spring. On the floor repairs, we had a number of areas that we had cracks that were meandering throughout the entire floor system, and those were a source of water leakage. So we were able to cut those out and replace those, as you can see here. Here's some more repairs. You can see some of the wall repairs in the background there of these pictures. And then the area between the wave pool and the kiddie pool, we had we call it the manifold pit. This is the walkway that goes between the two pools. This is in order to get into this space, it's a confined space. And we had a significant source of leakage in this area. So we pulled the top off, the concrete top that exposed all this piping. We were able to fix the leaks that were there. A number of these valves were non-functional and had to be replaced or repaired. We were able to take care of that, and that was another source of a tremendous amount of leakage. And then we've also added, this is the original casting that allowed you access. We added another one back here so that it would make it easier to access this area. Whoops. Here's another picture of the manifold pit and then the finished product there. And then this is the area along the walls that was fixed through a shotcrete area. We marked out all the areas where there was delamination to deterioration. And these are the areas that have been finished off. These areas here are ready for the shotcrete. Here's some more. These are the two culverts that connect the two pools, the kiddie pool and the wave pool. This picture down here shows the complete demolition of everything. There's quite a bit of area. There wasn't much concrete left around there that was of any good. And then here the guys are applying the shotcrete back into the area. And here's the picture of the finished product. And here's some more of the wall repairs. The zero depth area of the wave pool, there were cracks that were meandering throughout the entire area. And each one of those cracks was an area where water could seep through. And that was adding to the water loss. So we had to bring in a concrete pump in order to redo that concrete. Here's the prepared subgrade and area ready for concrete. And here's the finished product. Here's the extension of the concrete pump as they're working at it. The finished product here and as it's going in. So in summary, the original contract was $360,315, and with change orders, final contract amount is $367,336.01. And with that, I'll be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you for that report. It's good to see the visuals. Any questions for Dwight? I think the fact that you found some leaks and makes it much more efficient and will reduce our utility usage. So great job. Any questions for Dwight? Hearing none, take the roll.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Strebe?
Yes.
Councilmember Berg?
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dwight.
Resolution number 276, 2018, authorizing the mayor to sign a commitment letter for the city to approve improvements to Helgerson Flats Addition Ottumwa Industrial Park. Recommendation: pass and adopt resolution number 276, 2018.
Is there a motion?
Move the recommendation as presented.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Holly. Good evening, Larry. You have the floor again.
OEDC has been working towards site certification of the OEDC Industrial Park for Helgerson Flat Addition. The site certification is a program offered by Iowa Economic Development Authority with its inception in 2012. A certified site tells the prospect that all the due diligence has been performed, including environmental site assessment, wetland studies, archaeological, historical investigations, and soil sampling, title searches, and infrastructure planning. Attached is the OED Site Certification 101 letter that Sharon had put together. It outlines quite well all the processes and the steps needed to perform this. She has performed all the heavy lifting for the last couple of years to get to this stage. So I would like to give her credit, and if she wants to come up and give a few thoughts also, that would be great. By choosing a certified site, a company can start digging and be up and running in 6 to 9 months versus maybe double that time for a non-certified site, possibly longer depending on environmental and archaeological stuff. OEDC has arranged a purchase option agreement with the adjacent property owner for potential future expansion. We did put up a map that kind of shows that, and I know Sharon has covered this at previous council meetings. It's not really showing up very well. Part of the certification process requires that the city agree to provide sewer service to the park with a minimum capacity of 250,000 gallons per day within a 6-month period after a company commits to the property. The sewer capacity check had been completed and revealed several improvements that will need to occur to reach the required level of service. McClure Engineering developed the initial cost estimates and listed improvements. And we show that the first pump station is about 116,000 to replace about 1,000 gravity foot. Sewer line is about 467,500. Rochester lift station is also estimated at about 116,000. Grandview lift station was listed with the McClure study at 327, with a total just slightly over $1 million. Several of these things we're going to look at internally as far as equipment upgrades. The pump stations, that looks like a lot of money, but what we want to do is review and see, and we believe that we can just increase the pump capacity without doing a lot of wet well work. That'll be determined in more of an in-depth than the study. We know that the gravity sewer, that we can do that based on its location is actually outside of the pavement. One of the things that we're going to recommend to council and come back with a design contract is not knowing exactly when somebody would commit, but go ahead and design the gravity system ahead of time, have it on the shelf ready to let, and we'll debate the merits of, do we permit it ahead of time? Those permits have a sunset clause. So if you don't build it within that, you have to resubmit for permitting. So we can work that through with just our staff. Possible funding would be included in future sewer rate increases. OEDC has agreed to reimburse the city for the design fees to develop the plans and specification to replace the gravity system. I have been in communications with Sharon. I do have a number from Garden and Associates at 15,000, not to exceed 15, and we'll bring that back at a later date for approval. Sharon, would you like to add to this?
Nothing in particular, unless the council has any questions.
One of the things that I also want to point out, I just want to show how the city has been fairly proactive in some of the street repairs in the industrial park area. We went ahead and listed it on a spreadsheet for your viewing. One of the things that we had put in this CIP, and we'll just have to postpone it till one of the next cycles, was to finish Pawnee reconstruction. We'll go in and do some different type of patching, injection patching most likely. We can get several more years out of that before the next cycle. And then depending on how development takes off, I know Sharon said that she's managed to sell a corner of the property for a new substation. It would be at the end of Pawnee. Anyway, it's a project in progress.
Any questions for Larry? Andy, do you want to make?
For the council member.
Just for clarification, I know we spoke a little bit about this last night, Larry. At least one of these projects, the Grandview lift station, you had mentioned, hopefully I understood correctly, that this is actually something during the phase 9 portion of the sewer separation is probably going to have to be looked at anyhow. Is that correct?
That's correct. One of the things we knew that when we divert the flow from the industrial park down through this particular reach, that station would have to be increased. Some of the things we need to do, I mean, those were programmed further out in our compliance schedule. We are going to start, when time allows, an actual look at, can we reduce I&I in that area? That is a location. Grandview does have an active CSO, and we are required to look at that. It's just from a financial standpoint, we can't do it all at once. We are going to start looking at that. We have put in some flow meters and started looking in that area to see where or if we have some cross connections between any of the storm systems. If we can find enough I reduction, we could possibly eliminate that until the phase 9 kicks in. So it'll be a juggling act on our part on figuring out what we can do to reach that.
Thank you.
Good question and good response, Larry.
No, Mr. Mayor, just one quick question. And Larry, this is something we talked about earlier. So if you could just put this in perspective for all of us. And this relates to one of the provisions which states that when a company commits to this particular project, in this instance, this particular parcel or parcels of land, then the city has a commitment to provide the requisite water service. And again, it's listed here that maximum capacity, provide sewer service, maximum capacity, 250,000 gallons per day. Within 6 months, one of the items that we discussed, and if you could just put in context, again, for not only for myself, but the council members as well, in committing to that, making that commitment to be able to supply the requisite sewer, is the city's next step then to reach out and try and hire a contractor? Or maybe you could give us some next steps if this were to take place?
No, my recommendation at this point, the design portion, some of your environmental stuff that needs to be done to develop a set of plans to relay the 1,000-foot, basically have to increase that pipe capacity or that particular run, is to have those plans ready and on the shelf. Stay in close communication with Sharon if she really has somebody that's coming on hook. I think by the time, if we have them on the shelf, once we get the word that, hey, this person has committed, we can start the letting and the permitting at the same time, and we'll have it ready. It's really a short project. You're only talking 1,000 feet, 4 manholes. That's a relatively quick project, especially considering this section is outside or back a curb. We end up removing 4 manholes. I think it's 7 driveways, and it varies from 8 feet to 2 feet deep. So you're talking a project that can actually probably be built in, 3 to 4 weeks. The pump stations, we're going to start looking at the pumping capacity. We know what's in there, and start pricing what pumps, what impellers, what combination do we need to have ready to order. And then really the only thing other than install is the lead time. Sometimes on these pumps, these are smaller pumps, you might have, say, 6 weeks lead time, 8 weeks. So we can still easily make a 6-month window if we already know and have all the footwork done ahead of time. I wouldn't really recommend putting them in for we can finish service life on the existing equipment, but we can weigh that also as we get prices.
All right, thank you, Mayor.
Okay. Sharon, go ahead.
Just for clarification purposes, I just wanted to let you know that 250,000 gallons has to be available within 6 months of the closing of the sale of anybody that would need this particular service. In the instance where we've sold that 12.5 acres to Alliant Energy, they have no water or wastewater necessary at that particular piece for that particular construction project. So that's exclusive.
All right, thank you.
Okay, very good.
I have a question.
Okay, Skip. Go ahead.
On the Grandview lift station, do you anticipate increasing the capacity of the wet well?
That'll be determined what we find in the phase 9, but no, at this time, it's just a pump size increase. The other thing that you can do to offset is very similar to what we done at the industrial airport. And I'll use that as the example. We're seeing peaks of over 1 million gallons a day. We went through and done our lining and our I&I for manhole reconstruction and replacement, and we're down to roughly 300, along with some of the companies done some internal work also. But that's what I would say. We was able to cut that by 1/3, and we anticipate that the I&I portion we can do very similar, because when you compare the dry weather flow and the wet weather flow, there's quite a peaking factor.
And the pressure main out of the Grandview pump station heading south, is that up to capacity to handle all this?
That'll have to be determined. And, that's based on velocity. We'll have to look at the sizing and see where we fall. If we increase it to whatever that number is, we'll have to check the velocity and make sure we're still within the design parameters.
So what happens if we hit a snag there?
It becomes a different project.
A big project?
Yes.
Thank you.
But even that, other than the expense, that cuts really down through either wild terrain or the golf course. It does parallel, Elm down to Pike, but I don't know yet on that one.
Okay,
Yet to be determined.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments?
Your Honor, I got another question.
Sure.
Just to clarify, I think we've already talked to it, but I just want to make sure. Larry, the Grandview lift station, that in itself is going to be part of our sewer separation no matter what happens. The Rochester lift station, the gravity line improvements, and the OADC pump station, if I think I understood this right, those are specific to the site certification, right? Those are
the
specific
Rochester
to the certification. Right. Okay, so those costs and expenses are specific to just the site itself. Grandview is going to have to be done no matter what.
Correct. It's just a matter of the magnitude of size increase.
Okay, and so this stuff will be like shelf ready, and then when a company comes in and says, "Hey, we want to buy this," we'll have this stuff ready to go within 6 months of the closing, like Sharon said. So we're basically getting ready. Nothing will happen until we have that company on the line.
Correct. Other than I do plan on bringing back a small design contract and let those plans be developed, because that's kind of part of the lead time. And what we were looking at is, let's say that it happens that they close in October and we go into winter and the ground's froze. There's a certain window there that you'll stay out. You could do it, but we avoid if we've got deep frost. So to make a 6-month window, we want to have the best advantage and be prepared that way.
Okay, thank you.
I might just point out one other item, and that is a lot of this is dependent on the requirement of certification is that we prepare for this, even if we don't need it. So that's why we're asking for the letter of commitment that just says that we've got everything in place that says that if we do end up with a customer that needs this much water, wastewater, we'll be in a position to provide that. If we recruit a company that doesn't need that kind of
Capacity.
wetness.
Capacity.
Capacity, there you go. It's entirely possible that we may never we won't have to use these new plants for quite some time.
Sure. Makes sense.
Good.
Thanks.
Good question, Matt. Everybody else comfortable? Okay, let's vote.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Strebe?
Yes.
Councilmember Berg?
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Thank you, Larry. Thank you, Sharon.
Resolution number 277, 2018, approving a new City of Ottumwa logo. Recommendation pass and adopt resolution number 277, 2018.
Is there a motion?
Move the recommendation as presented.
Second?
Second.
Okay. Now, Joni, are you taking this?
I think I'll start and then turn it over to City Administrator Morris.
Okay.
This resolution approves a new City of Ottumwa logo. Various community organizations developed this logo utilizing the letter O with different colors adopted by each organization. The city would use I called it a teal, but it's kind of a blue color. These organizations are requesting that this logo be adopted by the city to replace its City of Bridges logo that was adopted in 1997. The new logo was utilized in the city's new website development implemented during the summer of 2018. Public Works Director Larry Seals has been developing cost estimates primarily on putting the logo on all of our fleet of vehicles. The costs for letterhead and other signage will be developed as we go along and probably will be phased in. Due to the significant costs that are anticipated, the changes will occur slowly as budget constraints allow. I've attached a copy of the current city logo as well as the proposed new city logo, and I will turn it over to City Administrator Morris.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Ms. Keith. Just to reiterate what Joni made mention of, and that is the fact that this is an item that we're migrating to. When council adopted, let's just say in theory, it was something that was added to our website fairly early on in my correspondence with Councilwoman Berg. That was an item that if you wanted to see a part of the website, that was added. So that blue color is something that, although it's not been memorialized, that is an item that we've identified. We went through fairly painstakingly simple process, I would say, with Hill Productions. No offense to them at all in putting this together. But I would want to reiterate, and a lot of credit goes to Larry Seals and the folks in Public Works. He was the one that took the initiative and began developing certain cost factors. I want to be clear, though, on this. The cost estimates we're putting together at this time that Larry Seals and his department is coming up with is specific to the fleet, the vehicles, as Ms. Keith mentioned. The migration to the letterhead business cards, which are not used as frequently as they were, say, 20, 30 years ago when this initial design was developed, that's something that staff will determine moving forward. I can't give you a definitive deadline that on this date we're going to start using letterhead with this particular item on it unless council says throw them all away and put the new logo on. It is an item we will migrate to. I would rather ease our way into it. This is somewhat of an unbudgeted expense, but at the same time, it is an item that council has endorsed, and it's something that we will definitively move on. I don't know that I have anything else to add to that other than what Ms. Keith made mention of, but just want to let council know and the public know this is something we're migrating to. I would make mention of one other item, not to get bogged down in this, and I've had this experience in some other communities I've managed. I don't know whether or not we'd be able to put them, and it's not a licensing matter. Larry Seals referenced this earlier today. When you look at your public safety vehicles, police and fire, I know in my previous community there was a logo for the city. I know specifically with police and fire, it was not a part of their particular their vehicles, their service cars, yes, but if you're talking pumper trucks and police cars, typically that was not something that was added. We will look into that. If we do, there may be a bit of a combination that if we could do this in conjunction with in conjunction with the current seals that you have on those public safety vehicles, but I don't want to oversell this because that's just an experience I had, but it's certainly something we'll look into. But you may not see them on the public safety vehicles, and if you don't see them there, it will not be because of staff. It'll be because of certain requirements that certain codes we may have to adhere to.
Okay, very good. Any questions?
I guess I would just like to say, not to speak for all of council, but I don't think any of us are concerned to force it to go through quickly with costs. I think, a slow, like you said, as business cards run out, ordering, new ones with a fresh logo, not going through and spending money that we don't need to spend up front, which I think I see head nodding. So, it's something we want to see migration to, but we don't want to run out and burn all the letterhead and business cards now. I think it's a slow, like you said, a slow migration and not anything that causes undue expense, just a slow as things need updated.
Councilman Winberg raised a good point. We need to look at some of the other areas where we have our quite frankly, river opportunities on. Right now, though, and Larry Seals took the lead on this one, was establishing them for the vehicles. We thought that was the best point to get started. But in addition to letterhead, there are probably some other places we'll need to do that. We'll also have to get council guidance and work our way through. This is something Larry Seals and I talked about today about some of the discussions, as you know, Mayor, that's taking place in this community about gateway signs. I think that's something that we can move into. But I want to make sure we do that. It comports with the other obviously public entities that are already part of those signs.
Your Honor, I'd just like to make a comment. Anytime the change happens like this, you definitely get a lot of talk in the community and a lot of rumors. I would back onto what Councilwoman Berg said. I saw a post on social media that said this was going to cost somewhere in the range of $400,000 to do this. So just for the public's, just for their information, this is something we have to obviously, like Administrator Morris shared with us, phase into and work our way into. As we run out of things, we'll make new with the new logo. And as far as gateway signs, that there's options for funding out there. There's fundraising, there's organizational help, there's things. We're not going to go out and spend ridiculous amounts of money trying to change this logo over. So for the public's information, that's not going to happen. And I just wanted to put that out there because I thought that was funny. I saw that out there on Facebook. And so we know how that operates. So we'll squash that rumor right now. So anyway, I think it's a nice logo, and I think it's a nice change, a refreshing change, and we'll slowly phase it in as the budget allows. I'm not really worried about getting a quick changeover on it by any means. I think the old logo was nice. This one's nice. It's not a big deal to me. So
good.
It's good.
Okay, thank you.
I have one.
Yep.
This is probably a question for Larry. So what I'm understanding, you are in the future, and Andy, you adhere to this, planning on changing the entrance signs as well?
I have not been involved in those conversations. I
right.
think those are to be had in the future. I would offer that this is the new logo sign. You know, we copied this out of the band guidelines. What we did was have our staff, and it's really the staff in our sign department that came up, took the original, put this into their program for they could duplicate and make this. This is several processes since it's got different colors. We had them look at what does it take to time-wise to make the sticker, what's it take to take the old one off, and what's it take to put the new one on. We looked at everything within our fleet to come up with a number. But one of the things that we do on a project like this, we'll work this in through the winter. On the days that, you know, we might have an hour, they'll go to a car. So we kind of work it in to try to minimize the cost.
So you're saying in the future, those probably like the big concrete signs north and south, and
I think we're going to have discussions on that. I have not been involved in any of those discussions to date. You know, that's something that we'll need to get with Andy, and we'll find the appropriate people to set in on that and see if that is in fact the goal.
Okay. Until I came here tonight, I was definitely going to vote no on this project. I talked to Sharon a little bit. I got a little bit clearer picture. I told her maybe it's because of my age. I didn't like change, but I can understand it better now than I did before, and I probably got more comments on this than I have anything else in the past year saying, it's crazy, don't do it. And so I might get hung, but I will support it.
Good.
I would like to say it's not close to 400. But we would take that in our budget.
Yeah.
Yeah,
gotcha.
right. Keep dreaming. Well, and let's go ahead, and if there's no other comments, let's vote on it. Take the roll, please.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Strebe?
Yes.
Councilmember Berg?
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Purely unsolicited, I just came back from a national conference and I had my lapel pin on. I had a number of people stop me and ask me about the pen, and they all thought it was very appropriate. So from an outsider's point of view, I thought that was interesting. Okay, item J, we have one person who would like to address the council on an item that's not on the agenda. So this time I'd call Mark Hansen to the microphone.
Good evening.
Good evening, Mark.
In August, Mayor Lazio and I went down to the Stags tennis courts. By the way, I'm the head boys tennis coach at Ottumwa High School and work in the summer program and that kind of thing. And because I wanted him to see firsthand the issues with the tennis courts, and I understand that you had some discussions on it already, and you know the quandary that we're in. But at that time, Mayor Lazio said, if you want to come in and address the council, please do that. And I was thinking about when a good time would be in September or October, whenever. And I actually came across this, the Pinnacle Indoor Sports Report that I think maybe you're looking at right now as possible improvements for a facility for soccer, baseball, and softball. And I wasn't even upset when I saw in the report that the facility, one of the proposed sites, was going to be over the new tennis court facility. I wasn't even upset over that. I guess what my point now is that, you know, I've got student athletes that I'm responsible for, and I think this spring we'll probably have between 70 and 80 kids, girls and boys, playing tennis at Ottumwa. And right now, we probably have at least 2 courts that aren't playable, and I just want to make that point that there needs to be something done, and I'm not even sure if you guys are the right entity to present this to. But something has to happen, and I know the Bridgeview courts aren't that much better, But I think it's important that we have a facility that not only our students can play on, but our community can be proud of. And I actually have photos. I didn't plan a full-blown presentation tonight at all. I just wanted to alert you again and make you aware. But it's really a need right now, and I want to be able to help build the program up again where it was under Coach Staggs, and I want a good facility to do that. So if there are opportunities later where you need a slideshow, we have shots of the cracks down there that are this wide. Literally, people could step in them on the side of their foot and just roll their ankle on them now. So they're not safe. And so I'm actually going to petition or beg the country club to let us use a couple of their courts for our meets this spring. So that's kind of where it is. And that's really all I wanted to say. And I hope that I've raised some awareness on this. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mark. And I do appreciate your interest and support of the Ottumwa Tennis Club that's put a lot of time and money into the courts in the past. And as we know, we have a lot of needs, and certainly we want to see those improved. And I think if I remember right, when that Pinnacle study came out, I think I spoke up and asked where the tennis courts were, and they were not even considered. So we at least made the community aware that there is a need for that, and hopefully we'll find a way to address it, and maybe some outside donors as well as outside grant money that could be captured for that. So thanks for your interest. Are there any council comments that we need to be thinking about?
I just had one comment, Your Honor.
Sure.
Since we didn't have a meeting last week, we had a guest speaker at Rotary this last Monday, a gentleman by the name of Jim Keller, and he came and spoke about the Welcome Home Soldier monument in Albia, and spoke to Veterans Day and Veterans Month. So I really, since we didn't have a council meeting last week, I think that this would be appropriate a time for us as a council to recognize all the veterans in the community that have in the past and continue to serve our great nation.
Very appropriate, Mark. Thank you very much. I think building on that, I would also just make a comment. I'm really proud of the fact that the council stepped up tonight and made the commitment to do something for our police department. I think we've all been concerned about public safety. And while I'm sure the increase is not the only issue, it certainly goes a long way to say that we're concerned. We're going to do something different. I appreciate the chief's leadership on this, and I don't know where he went, but John Thomas, who goes around the state representing police departments, was very complimentary of the chief and the work he's done to support his officers in this effort. And I think that was demonstrated by the complete data that he gave us as a council to look at, comparing our salary rates and benefits to many of our sister cities and some of the cities that have been stealing people from us. I also think it's important that we say to the families of the officers that we appreciate and we want to let you know that we are very concerned about the safety and well-being of the officers. Every time they go out, they put their life on the line and never know for sure what they're going to encounter. And so we want to keep a well-informed, well-equipped, knowledgeable police department. And I think we're headed in the right direction. And I think, as John Thomas mentioned tonight, I think we'll have some more officers being willing to come here and work for us now that maybe in the past haven't. So it's a step to help retain and recruit. There are other things we're going to continue to work on, but it's a step in the right direction. I want to mention Fred Zessinger, who is our Main Street director, has a program this Friday night, the Circle of Lights out here in the Central Park. And that starts at 5:30, and it's a fundraiser for the Main Street program, but it's a great evening, and if the weather cooperates like it's supposed to, a great way to get together with a variety of people from our community and remember some of the loved ones who have passed on and the influence they've had on all of us. Also would like to comment that I just returned from the National League of Cities Convention. Found it to be a very informative, brought a lot of reading material back with me, and it will continue to give us good information because our connection with the Iowa League. So, and I have some material that if anybody wants to come in or stop in and talk about tax levies, taxes, housing was the number one issue that came up over and over and over in every city, large and small. Nuisance abatement was another issue. Retaining public safety was a third, and lack of budgets was the fourth. So again, we're keeping good company across the nation. So with that, I think we also had a great visit this past week with the governor who was here. Again, I would give hats off to Indian Hills and the Job Corps, the apprenticeship program that they have put together, and the fact that the governor came and spent some time with us and is very positive about it, I think says a lot for our community partnership, C3, and we're trying to keep that moving. So anytime we have state dignitaries that come, I try to represent the city and let them know that we want their help and assistance in these programs. Is there anything else for the good of the cause? If not, I'd entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Strebe?
Yes.
Councilmember Berg?
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
6:46.
Oh, yeah.